Now let's talk about the most important concept. Now there's no question about it being the second most or the third most important topic, because this is the most important topic in Excel, and of course everyone needs to know. In some of my internships, in some of the work that I've done, whenever there was some complexity involved, pivot tables came to the rescue, and pivot tables are like the essence of Excel. This is one thing that makes Excel very, very famous and very widely adopted. Everyone uses Excel because of a number of functions, but pivot table is one of the main functions. Now, let's say I want to aggregate this data, right? Okay. I want to see how many startups are there in Bangalore, right? I want to see how many startups are there in Bangalore. What are the names of those startups? Or let's take a more complicated example. I want to calculate the sum of the latest funded amount of the startups that are in Bangalore, right? So let's say these are the startups in Bangalore, and I want to sum up uh, the latest funding amount of all of these startups, right? And I also, side by side, I also want to find the average editors rating of the startups found in Bangalore, right? Now there's no other simple way to do this besides pivot tables. So I'll make a pivot table for this. I'll select all this data and I'll insert. So I'll go to the insert tab, create a pivot table here, and it has already selected all the table, right? All the table range, this table or range. It has already selected this, and I'll place the pivot table in a new worksheet. So if I click OK, it has created a new sheet. I think you guys can follow till here. So this is a very simple process. Select all the data or select whatever columns that you want to analyze. Click the insert tab, go to pivot table and click OK. If you want to insert it in a new worksheet. If you want to insert it in an existing worksheet, select the location. Suppose you want to insert it here. Then select the location here, right? So in my case, I've inserted here. I've inserted in a new worksheet. Now, what was the problem statement? Let me write the problem statement. Now this is just like solving an assignment that a company has given you for its interview, for its internship or job process. Now, very often I've come across assignments. Now I remember uh, I've used pivot tables in many assignments that I've done for internship or job interviews. So pivot table was always helpful, was many times helpful there. So I want to find out the total funded amount and the average editors rating for startups in Bangalore. Let me make it more complicated. This looks very easy. Okay, I want only the startups. Okay, let's take this. I want only the startups which are incorporated. Now there's this is incorporated column, right? I want only the startups. I want a filter which gives me only incorporated. So let me make this more complicated. Is incorporated should be yes. Let's make it more complicated. Incorporation date. Okay. The incorporation date should be after 2000. It should not be before 2000. It should be after 2000. So incorporation date should be greater than 2000. Okay. This is still very, very easy because pivot table makes life very easy, and this is not something which we cannot do. Okay, and suppose I want to suppose I also want to organize it. Suppose I don't want to see it for Bangalore only. I want to see this entire problem statement separately for Bangalore, separately for Delhi, and so on for all cities. For Gurgaon, whatever. So I want to see this for all these cities. Okay, I think this is enough for now. And I only want to see the funded ones. Is funded should be yes. So let's make this is funded should also be yes. All right, I think this is sufficient for now. Let's keep this here. This is the problem statement. I want to see all of these conditions for all cities. Now here what I'll do is I'll create a simple pivot table. So there are four fields which we need to understand. The first one is filters, second is columns, then we have the rows, and finally the values. What do I want in the rows? I want the city, right? So I simply drag the city here. If you see, all these cities have come up here. So it will show everything for these cities. Now, which filters was I talking about? I was talking about is incorporated and is funded. So let's keep these filters here. Is funded and is incorporated. Now here in this section, you see that we have all the columns that we were talking about. All the columns that are in this sheet, right? We have all these columns because we selected the entire table as our range. So we have this. What else did we want? So this is what all is done. This is done. This is done. Incorporation date needs to be greater than 2000. Let's do this now. So incorporation date, I'll again select this also as a filter, and I'll select incorporation date. I'll remove all the ones that are before 2000. So I'm removing these ones which are before 2000, and all the ones that are after 2000 that were in the companies that were incorporated after 2000. I'll just select them. So all these are selected. I'll remove this blank one also. Right. Let's click OK. What was is incorporated? I want only the ones which are incorporated. Is funded? I want only the ones which are funded. So all of these are funded. Right. And I want the average. I want the total funded amount of these startups. Right. So let's see the funded amount. Total funding. I think this was the column that we were talking about. So total funding. Let's move this to values. So if you see, we have the sum of total funding of the startups in each city. And clearly, Noida leads the race. Yes, I think it is Noida or Bangalore. So yes, Noida leads the race, and it clearly tells me that the total funding amount is highest in Noida. I suppose I also want to find the average revenue of the startups in each city. So let me do that. Average annual revenue. I'll add this to values, right? What am I doing? I'm simply dragging this and dropping this to values. So here it is displaying the sum of annual revenue. It by default displays the sum. But suppose I want to find the average. What I do is I select this, click on value field settings, and here I select average. So this will display the average of annual revenue. Is everyone able to follow till here? Questions, please. Are there any questions? I think there's some noise. Yes. All right. So this is very easy. I'll repeat that after I complete this. I'll repeat the process after I complete this. So where am I? I found the sum of total funding for each city, for the startups in each city. And is funded is true, so which means that all of these are funded. and all of these have been incorporated after 2000. And I've also found the average of annual revenue. So I think we've covered all the conditions. Total funded amount we have found out. Average editor's rating. We've not done this. So average editor's rating, let's also do this. So what do? I simply drag this to the values column. So this is the editor's rating. I add this here. By default, it will display the sum, but I want the average. So I select the average here and it displays the average. So this is very useful information, extremely powerful, and this is the kind of this is the kind of stuff that data analytics people or even data scientists, these people do. So pivot tables are very widely used. Um, okay, let's repeat what I did. So what I did was I simply selected all of this, inserted a pivot table, right? I inserted a pivot table. Then I selected whichever thing I want. So suppose I want to, this time I want to see state-wise analysis. So these are the states. States are, the state names are not very nicely written, but whatever. So these are the states. Or suppose I want to see it at a country level also. So it basically shows me at a country level. So this is like a sub division within India, and this is like a subdivision within this field. This field is, the name is not so there is, what does this mean? This means that in this data there is some city that has not been written properly. The name India is written two times within that cell. So that is the case with this. So I want to find the total funding for each of these cities and also the total funding for India.
Bhaiya, there is a doubt that the subdivision occur automatically or it was according to the sequence of the country and state you wrote.
Exactly. So it was the sequence that I defined. So let's move back. Suppose I have only the state here. It is showing only the state here. Please ignore these names. This data is taken from somewhere. So we've not done data engineering here. We've not corrected some of the names. So we also might have some blank columns also. So we can ignore that. So I've added state here to the rows. Now there's a difference between adding country below it and above it. So suppose I add country below it. So if you see, it is now the subdivision is the country, which does not make much sense because we all know that uh, this is not the type of content we want to see. So India is a subdivision of Gujarat, but we want to see it the other way around. So we'll move country above state, and now the division is perfect, right? And we can even minimize the other ones. We can minimize, maximize, do whatever. And now let's find what can we find? Let's find the revenue at IPO. Let's find the maximum, or let's find the average revenue at IPO. So this field apparently is empty, and let's see why is it empty. So here, yeah, so this field is empty. We don't have data for this. That is why the pivot table is showing this field as empty. So let's take some other column. Let's take the annual revenue, and instead of the sum, let's take let's take the sum only. So sum of annual revenue of companies in uh, Gujarat, let's say, was this much, and similarly for the others. So this is values. Suppose I want to see, I'll add something in columns also. I've not added anything in columns. Now I want to see this in a from I want to see this in more granular fashion. I want to see this in more detail. So let's add columns. Let's add founded year to the columns section. So now if you can see in each year, what was the revenue in that state? that is displayed. So revenue in from revenue of startups in Gujarat in 1983 was nothing. It is not showing any value. We don't have values here. So it was 1992 here. And so let's say in Haryana in 2007, this was the revenue. Then it increased to this in 2008. Then it decreased in 2009. So as you can see, the kind of insights that we get from a pivot table is much, much more than what we can get from any other function. So this is basically, this will help us derive some insights, very valuable insights as well, which can help the company. So that is there. And on a city level also, we've done this analysis. I think we've covered mostly everything here. Now, suppose I want these filters in a more easy to use fashion. Suppose I want to select the incorporation date and as some particular years only. Let's say I just want to see 2015 or something, and I want to make the selection very easy for me. So what I'll do is I'll simply go to pivot table analyze this tab here, and I'll insert a slicer. And what do I want the slicer for? I want the slicer for incorporation date. I click OK, and whatever the filter that we had here, whatever was the filter that we had here, that will come here, but in a more interactive format, in a more easy to use format. So these are all the values. This is if I want to select it multiple, if I want to select multiple values, then I enable this and I can select whatever values that I want. Suppose I just want to select, um, suppose I just want to select values after 2006, which means 2007 onwards. Then all these are selected, 2007, 8, and so on. And suppose I also want to select all the 1991 values, then I can do this. I can simply select this. And if I want to clear all the filters, I can simply click on this. It will select all of these, which means that the filter is now cleared. So this is slicer. And slicer also, I think you can get interview questions on slicers, or whenever you do some analysis and you present it in a PPT or something, then also it is very helpful. So incorporation date you want to understand, right? Let me take some easier example for this. So what filter do you want? Can you guys help me with this? Tell me some filter which you want. Do you want to see the companies only after a particular year? Anything of that sort? Let me add companies only after some particular year, founded year. Um, let's add this as a filter. So these are, we can select the companies which were founded after a particular year. So I can add a slicer here again for founded year. And basically it shows all the, I can select some of the companies which are founded in some particular year. Suppose I want to see the companies founded in 2008. Want to see the data corresponding to the companies founded in 2008. So I can simply select this. If I also want to select 2009, I can enable this multi-select option. So I think that that clarifies your doubt. All right. So pivot tables is very, very helpful. And I can maybe show you one or two more examples. So if there are any questions, please let me know. Okay, there's also a very interesting column here. Whether it is a Sunicon or Decacon or Unicorn, what is the status? Or is it a Minicon? Now, all these are terms used frequently in the startup world. So Minicon, Sunicon, Unicorn, all of these are there. So let's add a filter for this also. Let's add a slicer here. Suppose I only want to see items which are like companies which are unicorns. So I'll simply select this, right? Now let's say I just want to see the count. Let's remove all of this. Let's make the analysis more simple. So what do I do when I remove? I simply drag it up and it gets cleared. So for every city, I want to see the number of startups that were founded, that are currently operating in that city, like that have the headquarters as these cities. So I simply add the company name here, and it automatically displays the count of the company name. So in Bangalore, 77 startups out of these 217 startups are operating in Bangalore. And second is Mumbai. Then we have Gurgaon and so on, which is expected also. So Bangalore is leading the tally. Now, if I just want to see the companies which are, let's say, which are funded after 2000, or which are funded after 2008. So I will add a slicer here. I'll add the founded year. I'll also add one more slicer, and I'll add funded year if there's any funded year or something. All right, we don't have a funded year. We can add anything else. We can add is incorporated. So I select yes, and I can select the founded year, only the ones which were selected after 2000, like which were founded after 2000. So these are the ones which were founded after 2000. And if you notice, 41 out of those 71 startups were founded after 2000. And I can change this for whatever value I want. I think I have shown a lot of examples for pivot tables, and you guys can easily understand now. This is the grand total that is there. 217 startups are displayed here. The value, the data for 217 startups is displayed here. All right, we'll move back to. Are there any questions on pivot tables till now? You need to understand this very carefully. You need to understand this properly, because this is one of the most important topics. This is the most important topic in Excel. I've missed out on two small things, sort and filter. So I'll just allow me to move back to Excel again. Yes. So if you notice, they've already sorted this thing in alphabetical order. I can sort this in any other order as well. I can select some particular cities. Suppose I don't want these random cities, Singapore, New York, Houston, Hartford. I don't want these cities. I just want Indian cities, and the names are not distorted. So I'll select this. This is I'm filtering some cities out, and I'm only selecting some particular cities. And I can sort A to Z or Z to A. This is simple sorting. Second thing which I can do here is, let's say I want to, let's see what I can do. Let's keep the founded year here. So you can see how many companies were founded in which year. So 2015, 19 companies were founded in Bangalore. 19 of the top 217 companies in India were founded in Bangalore. And now suppose I want to see this as a percentage. Now I want to see out of the 74 startups that were founded in Bangalore from 2008 to 2020, out of these 74, what percentage of startups were founded in 2015? So can anyone tell me how to do this in a single click? Does anyone know this, or do you have any idea? I want to see the percentage of this number out of this total, out of 74. And I also want to see the percentage of all these numbers out of this total. So in that case, what I'll do is I simply go here, click on value field settings, click on go show values as, and go here, click on percentage of row total. Now, what this means is that the count of company name, this is the name of uh, this column, and it will basically show the values as percentage of row total. Earlier it was showing the values without any calculation. So no calculation was selected here. And but now I'll select as a percentage of row total. If you can see, all these values are displayed as a percentage of the total. The total, of course, is 100%, and these are the values that are displayed. Let me make this easier to read. Yes, so 26% of the startups that were founded after 2008, 26% of them were founded in 2015, and I'm talking about Bangalore. In total, 21% of the startups were founded in 2015. 21% of all the startups founded in after 2008. So percentage part is very simple. So suppose we have this number. Instead of count of company name, let me now take total funding, right? What was the total funding of each of these startups? And this is the founding year. So what is this total funding? What is this as a percentage of the total amount? So what I'll do is I'll simply click on value field settings here. Click on show values as percentage of row total and click OK. So it will show the percentages of this. So what this means is that 18% of the startups that were founded in Bangalore, 18% of them were founded in 2015. 18% is like the percentage of the total revenue, total funding, sorry, of these startups. So 18% is the total funding of these startups out of the total. So the total is like whatever the total is, let's say the total is X, total funding of startups in Bangalore is X. Out of that, the total number of startups, uh, the total funding of the startups founded in 2015 is 18% out of the total. So that is what this is displaying. So funding makes it a bit more complicated, but you can simply see the number of startups. So you can take this and this will display the uh, percentage of startups founded in 2015 in Bangalore out of the total. So 25% of startups were founded in 2015 in Bangalore out of the total 77 or something startups that were founded after 2008. So that is this particular option. This is very helpful because many a times you want to see the percentages only. You don't want to see you don't want to see the absolute numbers, right? What will you do with absolute numbers like these? These are of no use to you. You might want to do some analysis, might want to take some important decisions based on this. That is the time you use percentages. All right. I think I've covered mostly everything here. Now, one last thing. Now, match and index are also left. So I'll quickly cover them also. Give me 3 or 4 minutes. I'll quickly cover macros also. And then we'll end the session. So before we move to anything else, let me quickly cover macros. Now, many times in Excel, you want to do multiple commands and you want to do it repeatedly. Now, suppose I want to suppose I want to sum this, right? And I also want to suppose I want to one second, what is this? Yeah. Suppose I just simply want to find the percentage of this amount out of the total. So I'll write 74 into 100 by this amount. If you remember, this was exactly what we did yesterday also. So this is the percentage of this amount out of the total, which is 834. And suppose I'm also doing some more complicated analysis here. I'm also trying to use some if condition, and I'm repeating that again and again. And then I'm going to some other sheet and doing some more analysis. And I want to repeat the same thing for some other sheet, or I want to repeat the same thing for some other entirely different workbook, right? This entire is one workbook, and these are other sheets. Suppose I want to repeat the same analysis for other sheets. What I do is I record a macro. So this is the option that is used to record a macro. So you can simply record a macro, and you can now the macro has started recording. So if you notice, a macro is currently recording. Um, and I can do whatever I want. I can go to some. I can simply sum up all of this. Then what shall I do? I can maybe take the average of all of this and display here, and I can do multiple other things, right? Then what I'll do is I'll save the macro. I'll stop recording, and I believe the macro is saved. Where is it saved? Yes. So in the view pane, we have this macros button. Click on view macros. Now this was the macro that we recorded just now, right? Now let me clear whatever we did. Let me clear out whatever we did. And I simply run the macro. It will automatically do the same thing. Now I run the macro. So if you notice, this and this automatically appeared. So it repeated the same thing, whatever we did. It recorded the thing and repeated it. So these are macros. So I think you got the gist of it. Right. So are there any questions in macros? Very simple. You all can relate. Right. Let's quickly take up match and index. Now match and index are slightly advanced functions in Excel. Suppose I want to, so what is the use of match? It returns the relative position of an item. I'll move to, okay, let me first explain what match is. So match basically returns the relative position of an item. So if you notice here, the first thing is, what do you want to look up for? Suppose I want to look up for dad in this, in the entire range here. Want to look up for dad here. And where do I want to look up for it? I want to look up in B2 to B5, this part. Suppose let's extend this. Suppose I just want to look up for this value here. And if I want an exact match, I'll write 0 here. If I want a less than match, like a something less than some amount, then I'll write 1. Otherwise, I'll write -1, greater than. So let me take a better example. Suppose I want to look up for 74, or let's look up for, let's look up for 74. The lookup array is this. I'm looking up for this value in this entire array. And I also want the values which are greater than, I want to look up for values which are greater than this, right? I'll simply write -1 here, because -1 denotes greater than. So this will show me the values which are greater than this value, greater than 74. Or let's take, instead of writing D2 here, let's write something like 200. So it will return the values which are greater than 200. What's the error? 1 second. Yeah. So if you notice, I selected 235 here, and -1. So there was no value greater than 235. So it returned this error. It gave me this error. Let me now take simple value like 200. What's the error it is showing here? Right. Suppose I want an exact match, which means I want 0. So 0 corresponds to an exact match here. I'll write 0 here, and I simply click on enter. It is showing NA because there's no exact match. Suppose I change this 200 to 235, then it will show me it will show me the position. Now this was the range, right? The position is 2 here. So this is the first row, this is the second row in our range. That is the uh, that is how match works. Here I've tried to find dad, and in this column, dad is on the third position. So that is match. Similarly, index is very similar. The only difference is that it tells me the value instead of the position. So what is the difference? Match tells me the position and index tells me the value. Now suppose I'm in the entire table, I'm selecting A2 to D8, which is the entire table, and uh, I want to find what is there on the third position in this table in the second column. So this 2 corresponds to the second column. In the second column, what is there on the third position? So that is dad. That will get displayed in the index uh, using the index formula. Were you people able to follow? Because this is slightly complicated, and I don't expect you to grasp it in the first go. So you can spend some time on it, and if there's anything we can discuss again, or you can there are lots of resources on the internet. You can search up for match and index there. So if there are any questions, please let me know. So match returns the position of something that we want to search for, and index returns the value that is there at a particular position. So suppose I want to write index, and I want to let's say this is the entire range that I am looking in, and I am looking for the value at the third. I'm looking for the value. 1 second. So this is the entire range, and I'm looking for what is the value at the third index, and I'm looking for in the second column. Or if I write it in the third column, sports will be the answer, because this is the value that is present in the third position in the third column. So sports is the answer here. So this is match and index. And before we end the session, let's quickly cover this last slide also. So match returns the relative position of an item, and index tells me what is the value present at the intersection of a row and a column. I'll anyway share this sheet, the PPT with you. You will get to know about match and index. You can search for it also, and I think this example also gives a good picture of match and index. So we've already covered pivot tables, macros, and I've already shared one video with you that covers advanced Excel, and that is also an Edureka video. You can watch that. Next session would be machine learning, and we'll I think spend 2 sessions on machine learning. We'll just cover the basics and some regression, classification, some maths, and that will help you analyze. That will help you at least get started in this field. So that is that is it for this session. If there are any questions, please let me know. All right. So thank you guys. Let's meet next time. Let's meet next Saturday or Friday. And till then, goodbye, and have a good week ahead.